Hi everybody and welcome to Seeking the Sacred Earth. Today I'm going to talk about depression, and this will be part one of probably 3, maybe more. Depression, right? If you're human, you more than likely have experienced it, and everybody to a different level, and everybody having different triggers. So the definition of depression is a suppression of anger that is turned inwards. That is what we're dealing with, and it can look like many things. A lot of times this suppression of anger can completely debilitate us, make us tired, apathetic, moody, anxious. There's so many ways that this can manifest, this suppression of anger. And this suppression of anger can begin at a very young age. Some people even like to talk about these things beginning while we're growing as a fetus in our mother's body as we absorb the anger and the sadness, the anxiety that she may be having while she's pregnant with us. So we aren't really taught in our culture how to express anger in a healthy way. In general, as we start to develop our will, and around those toddler years of 2 and 3, the terrible twos is what they're called, and we talk about toddlers, how difficult they are to deal with, because this is the age when we start being able to express our frustrations and anger. What I've found raising a toddler right now is we are not equipped as a society to teach young children how to express their anger in a way that doesn't hurt other people, or express their anger in a creative way, where they can actually come through the other side of anger with something tangible in front of them. It's a really sort of void area in our society. I personally will speak to my own depression. I think I've been dealing with depression since I was 4 years old. I had a sister who died when I was very young amidst other trauma that was happening up until the age of 17. And when I came out into the world as a professional actress and even in college, there was why express your anger of these past things in the present moment? It didn't make sense to me, and so I suppressed those things. I suppressed that anger. And the problem with suppressing the anger is that when the anger isn't directed where it was conceived, which can be very confusing if it's your parents, if it's your teachers, if it's your friends, your community, then that anger, we turn in on ourselves. And that can look like a lot of really horrible things that we see and experience every day. That can look like drug addiction, alcohol addiction. That can look like self-sabotage, not being able to handle finances or keep a job. That can look like anorexia, bulimia. I could go on and on, the way that when anger is turned within, we destroy ourselves. So to me, depression is anger being turned inwards. And the extent that it goes is, how much are you destroying yourself? What is, the scale, the 10 on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, well, that would be suicide, to where the depression is so intense, it is in such a pattern that you cannot get out of it, that it doesn't seem to be able to be broken, and so you take your own life because you see no way out of this vortex that is literally the energy vortex of depression. Is a spiral, goes down, 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 down. So in my early 30s, I really got tired of being depressed. And I knew, the things that had happened to me were not my fault. But it became very clear to me that although the abuse and the trauma and the loss was not my fault, it was my responsibility to heal what these things had done to me. So it stopped being about what had been done to me, and it became about, how do I heal it? It doesn't really matter in many ways who did it or how it was done or who died and when and what this breakup did or this loss of this did. It became about how do I claim it all back? Because we can settle. We can settle and just say, life is so hard and it's done this and it's done that. But everybody has their struggles. There's no way to live on this planet and escape discomfort. And in fact, I believe that it's through the discomfort that we expand, that we become smarter, more compassionate, more creative, and on the other side, more joyful. I'm no longer dealing with depression. I do deal with anger. And I have some healthy ways that I'd like to share with you guys, some healthy ways of how to just begin to switch the flip, to take responsibility of the black cloud of depression and start to illuminate it, because no one can do it but yourself. No one could have illuminated my depression but myself. No doctor, no pill, no joint, no drink, no man, no job, no amount of money. It was up to me. This is the hardest work we will ever undertake, is to take responsibility for our past, not because it was our fault, but because the future is our responsibility, and how we live our day-to-day life is our responsibility now. So if you're depressed, you have to get in touch with your anger. And that means looking at the past. It's a fine line, because you don't want to dwell on the past, but you have to illuminate the past to be able to start taking some of the dark cloud and putting it where it actually goes. Because it doesn't have to be right over your head. We can disperse it. And as it disperses, it dissolves. So for instance, my main trauma was at the hands of my father. And to be angry at our parents, our caretakers, or our teachers, the people who, while we were growing, were our protectors, so to speak, is a very, very conflicting place to be. But I finally began doing that. And here's the thing about this level of work. It is like a vision quest, and you have to carve out time for it, because it's not appropriate to be raging about your workplace. It's not. But it is appropriate to create time every day, I would say every day if you're battling with depression, to really focus on what are the inner workings of it. So like I'm always preaching and teaching, a journal, a spiral notebook, and a pen and a pencil, whatever you need, colored crayons, whatever. And you start working with the events where you first felt angry. You can go into a deep meditation if you're a meditator, and you can actually go all the way back to the point of your conception and work through that in a very, it's a nebulous way to work with it, but I got a lot from it. You just, ask your body in a meditative state as you're closing your eyes to show you what it was like in utero, what your infancy was like, what the birth was like. Birth can create a lot of trapped anger. So depression is trapped anger. And our job is to process that trapped anger so it is no longer sitting on us like a giant anvil. Because what we're dealing with is not so much sadness. What we're dealing with is anger, if you are technically depressed. So, first task is that journal, and writing through these places where anger was seated in you. And I will say I still work at this level with the journal and listing and writing what it was that happened, why I was angry. And then the next, this is what happened, second column, why it made me angry, and third column, What can I do now? What can I do now with this anger? This is only part one. And I hope this helps. Depression is here. There's no way around it. But can you use it to become a more expansive, creative, benevolent, compassionate creature on a planet that needs you? That's the question. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Remember, this is a YouTube channel, so if you like it, send it out to people who you think may need it. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope this helps, and I look forward to the next section on depression.